The Cosmic Portal welcomes you. And please, subscribe for more.
There is a relentless force in the cosmos. Time and space connect. And within it, a force beyond our vision, but not our reach. It lies somewhere in our universe, causing ripples in time, where the here and now is infinite.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We are the members of the Fraternal Order of the Force. I am your co-host. As the Master of Ceremonies is Jedi Joe, known as Master Aki. And tonight, Jedi Joe, take us to this, sir.
All right. So it was an honor for me to accept this assignment. As everybody knows, Attack of the Clones is the second one of the prequels, or the series of the prequels. I can say that it is not my absolute favorite Star Wars movie, but you got to have a start, a middle, and you got to keep going with it. So, guys, we're just going to talk a little bit about it, find out what everybody's thoughts was. I mean, it's an older Star Wars movie, and we might have had some favorite characters, some awesome fighting scenes. Maybe, just maybe, we might even talk about a little bit of sword work. So let's start with number one. Most of us has probably watched Attack of the Clones. So watching it the 15,000th time, how was it for you this time? And Mark, let's start with you, sir.
Well, every time a new version comes out, I have to buy it. So when it came out in 4K in a box set, I recently I got it for Christmas last year, and I've gone through it again. There's certain scenes in this movie that I thoroughly enjoy. There's parts of it that are not quite good, but overall, I still think it's a pretty good movie. I'm still going to watch it because I enjoyed the lightsaber duels and certain aspects of seeing people fight that you never thought you'd ever see do battle, and to see them do battle in this movie were fantastic.
All right. Master Sai, are you there, sir?
Yeah, I'm here, sir. I'm here.
All right. Oh, no. I was just checking in with you. Your thoughts on this 15,000th time of maybe watching the Attack of the Clones?
To be honest, it's probably my favorite out of the prequels, even more so than Revenge of the Sith. One of my favorite things, of course, I love vehicles, especially tanks, and there are just so many cool battle droids. The ATTE that we see, the spider droid. I love seeing those, and we also get to see the super battle droid. I think for the first time there, and I love watching the Jedi just go to town in battle against the battle droids. I mean, you can show them cutting down these battle droids without having to kill people. So of course, seeing them go, just all out on droids was awesome for me, especially when I was 19, 20 years old when this came out.
Whoa. Making me feel old, sir. Especially all of us in here. Miss Katala, how about you? What is your thoughts on Attack of the Clones?
It wasn't exactly my favorite, but I do agree the vehicles they had, the sword fighting, the lightsaber fighting is excellent, and good costumes.
Oh yeah. Okay, great. Mr. Rob, please, your insight.
I loved it when it first came out, so much that I got this and the Phantom Menace, the special edition ones that came with the pieces of the actual film cell that came with it. But over the years, it became one of my lesser favorite ones. Uh, a lot of it's dealing with all the whining in it, but it's got some of the best battle scenes of any of the movies.
Okay. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, you saw him when he introduced everybody. Our master of ceremony, you might say, the man behind this magic. He is Master Rand. Please, sir, your thoughts.
When it first came out, I hated it. I hated it. It was Anakin. I didn't like Anakin. And I gotta. I just the way he, like he said, he whined throughout the whole movie. He killed everybody, and I was just like, and everybody kept making excuses for him. Well, this is the way a kid would be, and all that. I'm like, no, it wouldn't be. I didn't really care for his character. And I'll be honest with you, he only gained respect from me through the Clone Wars cartoon series. That's the only time that I gave him any props, because he was looking after Ahsoka, and he did a real good job of putting her, I guess, first, and getting her up to the point of where she was, which was great. But I'm not going to go too much ahead because I don't know what you have what you have planned. But that whining. Now, don't get me wrong. The droids, seeing all the droids, all the Jedi at the temple. You guys know I'm a big Mando fan. Watching Jango, and learning about Boba Fett and how everything, the clones and everything. Again, didn't appreciate it until Clone Wars, the animated series.
All right. Well, I got to admit, guys, I'm kind of with most of y'all on this. I would say that when I remember it first coming out, I remember everybody kept saying, "Oh, this is just a love story. They're trying to fill the shoes of The Empire Strikes Back." Well, number one, it's not better than The Empire Strikes Back, to say the least. And I think they tried and they failed miserably. But the love story part, I don't think it was all a love story part, but I did like the building of Anakin becoming who he was. You could definitely tell that Kenobi was not holding him back, but just trying to make sure he knew what he was doing. And I think it frustrated Anakin. And so that's what I want to talk about next. Is what are your thoughts about? Do you think that if Obi-Wan would have let Anakin have a little bit more looseness on that leash, you might say, do you think that things would have went another way for Anakin, or do you think that it just would have got worse? We're going to start back with Marky Mark.
I have to say the way the movie was written, it's a totally different Anakin than what you see in the cartoon, because he seemed more sure of himself in the cartoon, and I don't think Obi-Wan did wrong in the way he handles certain situations. I just look at, for some reason, Anakin in the movie just seemed like everything he said, wanted to do, he felt like he wasn't allowed to do it. Where when you look at the Clone Wars in the cartoon, he did all of that anyway, and there was no big deal. He accomplished everything he needed to accomplish. So it's kind of hard to answer that question because you're seeing two different sides of the same story. Just one is expanded upon in a better way than what you got in the movie. To me, the movie just seemed a little rushed, like they were trying to cram too much information into that 2.5 hour movie, where when you get the cartoon, you get to see the whole story come together. So I don't think Obi-Wan did wrong with the way he was doing it, but I think it looks better when you see it in cartoon form over the movie.
Okay. Sai, would you agree with that statement, or do you have your own point of view?
Well, I think Obi-Wan was thrust into a fatherly role during a war when he couldn't be a father. He had to be like a commander to Anakin. So so Obi-Wan basically took on the role of his older brother slash father, even though he was more like a mentor than a father to him. After Anakin, went through a lot in a path and in a way that isn't normal for Jedi. I don't think Obi-Wan was ready or qualified to actually take care of his needs. And I think he did the best he could. If there wasn't a war going on, I think the story would have been completely different. I think Obi-Wan would have been perfect for him. But because
Wow.
of this war going on, I think that Obi-Wan did the best he could to train him to survive, to become a warrior, rather than just a Jedi with a really good balance.
Okay. Rob, what do you think?
I think it was doomed to failure. Anakin needed a father figure, and that was Qui Gon Jinn, and we lost him in the Phantom Menace. And Obi-Wan was more of a brother than a father, and Anakin saw him as trying to be a father. He even says as much when they're in the bar, and Obi-Wan only saw him as his brother, not his son. And what Anakin needed was a father figure, and Obi-Wan just was not that for him.
Okay. Okay. Calibus, what you thinking, sir?
No, I have to agree with Rob. He says it. You were my brother, Anakin. You know what I mean? Anakin didn't need a brother, he needed a father. He lost everything, his mother. And then what does he do? He goes back. He's been having these dreams. He goes back to get his mom. He loses that. He lost Qui-Gon. I think what Sai was saying, about if it wasn't a war, it probably would have turned out a little bit different. But at the same time, with Darth Sidious doing what he was doing,
Oh yeah.
I think it probably just would have took a little bit longer for him to get to that point. It just would have lingered out. The whole Duel of the Fates thing was the fate of Anakin Skywalker. And we saw that when Qui-Gon doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. At first, while actually watching this at the end, it kind of reminds me of a student that I was with years ago. And the boy was talented. He had this raw, natural skill. And it would taken me forever, it seemed like, to get to his level. So his instructor, which was his dad, definitely was holding him back. Now, I don't know if he was holding him back to try to, teach him a lesson to be calm and everything, or he was holding him back because he just was unsure what he would do with all this skill. And it was a good friend of mine, and it's kind of like a real life type of a feel for me when you have someone that skilled. And so I kind of think that Obi-Wan, like you said, or like everybody was saying, he was trying to be a father figure. He was trying to be a master, and he wanted to follow Qui-Gon Jinn's last words. But then Calibus said it best. He was doomed from the very, very beginning. Even Yoda mentioned it in the Phantom Menace. They knew that this boy was going to be problems, but yet, for some reason, they went forward with it. So, it kind of makes you wonder, why? Why did we go this far with it, But we got to have a good story. Well, welcome back, Miss Katala. Everything okay?
Everything's fine. Just had to take care of
Okay.
a few details.
Okay. Well, we're glad to have you back. We still haven't moved to anything new yet. So what we were talking about is did you feel that Anakin was being held back by his master. Do you think that Obi-Wan was a good teacher?
He was a good teacher. He didn't hold Anakin back. Anakin was just acting like a spoiled little brat, I think.
that
It's not going my way. He won't let me do this. He won't let me do that.
that's kind of funny. It kind of, like I said, it reminds me of a real life situation I was in, but that's okay. All right, well, good deal. So what I would like to do is that I don't want to hear everything exactly from my point of view. I would like to hear maybe what somebody else may want to bring up out of the movie that they saw and wanted to see if we saw it. So if anyone would like to kind of jump in the driver's seat for a little bit and bring a topic up that they saw that either puzzled them, that excited them, whatever the case may be, let you take the calm for a little bit, and let's indulge your fun and games, you might say. Anybody?
I got one thing. Oh,
Oh, no, Mark, no. Go ahead, Mark.
all right. So my thing is going to be when Anakin gets to Tatooine looking for his mom, and he sees C-3PO again, which is with Lars and their family. So I was just thinking about it. You see C-3PO there, and then when you think about New Hope, when Lars buys C-3PO, does he not remember that he used to own that droid for who knows however many years, and then the droid comes back and he doesn't recognize the droid? Has anybody ever did anybody think about that situation?
Oh wow, that's really a good one. That's really a good one. Go ahead, Calibus, take that one.
Look, do you know how many instances that we have now that he makes these movies, these prequels, and obliterates all these Star Wars history books of, Star Wars, of like C-3PO supposedly came online so many thousands of years or hundreds of years before all of this, and then we find out that Anakin makes it. George kind of breaks his own rules when he does this. Remember, R2-D2 is one of the main characters throughout these 9 movies, and yet here he is on Tatooine. Oh, I don't remember owning a droid. R2-D2. You don't know you don't remember R2?
Yeah.
I mean, what happened here? There's a lot of these little things. So what they do is, and I hate this the most, they come out with these little books. And right now, if you go to Spotify, if you have a membership, you'll get audiobooks for free. There's a book called Star Wars, A Certain Point of View. And it explains these things poorly, but it explains it. Okay. It's a lot of woke things in there. Okay. But it explains these little hiccups trying to connect these bridges. Yeah, I found that, and again, I'm still wondering, how did they age? Because it's only like 19 years? These people go from these spry looking teenagers to looking rough.
Desert life.
I mean, you can say, well, they were out in the sun all this time, and I get it. But I mean, come on, you have to give us a little bit something better with an explanation than that if you're going to go down this road. I mean, again, I only enjoy the prequels now because the sequels came out, and I was like, no, thank you. I'll go over here, and I can watch all of these without a problem, and I will not complain. I will sit there and be like, okay, yeah, cool. I see that point that Mark makes up. My mind just kind of skips right over it, and I just keep right on going.
I mean, like you said, I think the action sequences in the prequels are fantastic.
Yeah.
That's why I love these movies, because they are so good to watch. But yeah, there's certain hiccups, like you were saying. And that book you were talking about, I skipped over that. I think I was never going to do that one, but because I don't really care about that. Though I don't like any fan theories to begin with, at any way. And this seems like that book sounds like it's just fan theories trying to get you.
No, it's not. It's actual stories of some of these characters.
Okay.
The Sandcrawler, right? They talk about R5 and R2 and what R2 did to R5. They talk about this Jawa who dreamed about being among, and it killed me because I'm like, who does this type of stuff? There's a stormtrooper who's like this California Valley dude, and all he wants to do is ride a Drewback. I mean, he's talking all like, from the 90s with this surfer's attitude. And I just keep saying to myself, someone actually greenlit this and thought this was going to be the way to go, knowing there are hardcore fans that read all this canon, like Simon, who knows this stuff and who's going to sit there and go, how dare you write this and expect me to get more from it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. As fans, you do have the right, and I've always said this, you have the right to not like something, but you don't have the right to make it so toxic that you don't, that nobody else wants it. If you find it great, we know fans we know people that love the sequel trilogies, and I say more power to you. I'm glad you found something that you like. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is don't force your view on me, and we're fine. The moment you do, I'm going to rip your movie apart because I can. I can take it scene by scene and rip it apart. And you're going to sit there and try to justify these parts to me, and I'm going to be like, no, that doesn't make sense. Just like, you know what I mean? Like what Mark said, doesn't make sense. What happened is because they didn't bother to connect these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You needed to connect these for the fans. I thought the thing with Jango Fett was really cool. You know what I mean? And then, what happens to him? He gets his head off. Okay, now that's why Boba hates the Jedi, right? But then there's this whole thing with all this canon where Boba Fett was part of Mandalore. He becomes Mandalore at one point in one book. And, then
That's
Disney
no
comes
longer
along
canon, though, right?
Right? No, that's no longer canon. That's like
the
thrown
legend.
out.
Yeah, that's all gone.
Right? So,
Yeah.
how do we justify a lot of this stuff? And again, you get a set of bad movies that come out, and you go back to the ones that you were like, ooh, I didn't really care for them. I'm OG trilogy. But now here comes the new set. Now I'm like, you know what? I can do 1 through 6. I'm fine with 1 through 6. I'm good with 1 through 6. And to be honest, I'll throw 7 in there. I'm not really going past 7, but unfortunately, Master Shadow has deemed that we're going to do this.
You got to do all 11. Can't just skip by rounds. All 11 movies.
All 11 movies, bro.
I'd like to touch on something that you said.
Go ahead.
I like that. Okay, so Simon, our historian, the man that knows quite a bit through the books and everything. Don't we as fans hate it when we have Disney to just turn around and say, this is stricken from Star Wars history. It is no more. When in actuality, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot when we know it to be a certain way, And not to mention, whatever lore was behind it in the 80s, and now they want to change it for today's society, that kind of really messes up the franchise, if you might say.
It
So,
does.
what is y'all's opinion on that? In other words, do you care whether it's canon or not, or do you follow the so-called Disney code, you might say? Anyone, please
Yeah.
jump in.
I
The
care.
books are
Yeah,
always going to
I
be
care.
canon to me.
It's
It's just a multiverse.
Look, I can't look. I'm
That's
not
it.
doing that multiverse. You know what I mean? Look, Marvel's
This isn't
already
Marvel.
killed that for me.
This isn't Marvel. It's
Yeah,
not Star Trek.
I can't. But
So what are you saying? This is Earth 626, right?
Order. Order.
I love my canon. And when Disney threw everything else out, I was like, okay, I'm good with that. But don't take from my canon that you threw away and then you cherry pick what you want from it
Yeah.
and then bring it in here because and I say this with all sincerity. Rogue One is an okay movie. The only thing that made it great for me was that ending with Vader. You took away Kyle Katarn and gave us Jason Urso and all.
Yeah, Jyn Erso. Yeah.
I didn't care for her. I didn't care for her. You know, and then of
Scene
course
with the
you get
Hammerhead
Andor,
Corvette.
right? You give me Andor. I know his end story. You want to tell me how he came up through the ranks of the rebellion? I'm not really too interested in how he came because I know his end. Mon Mothma, on the other hand, I don't know her end. This woman pimps out her daughter. I'm more interested in that. Luther, I want his ship.
Yeah.
Okay, these are more interesting characters than this person that you got. Now, again, I don't know Thrawn, so all I know is Rebels. So when I saw him, I'm like, okay, I can deal with him. I mean, I didn't think he was that special to begin with. Those who have read the books are like, this is a disgrace. This is not Thrawn.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
totally
so
pissed
I
about
can't. Yeah, I can't with Sai and Master Shadow. I can't debate them on that because I haven't read the books on him. Okay, I've had a couple of audio books that have a brief mention of Thrawn, but again, I'm kind of like, I saw him on Rebels. This seems to match Rebels, and I'm pretty sure it did. But Thrawn is a little bit more superior in the book form than he is than what we got.
A lot more superior.
So when you cherry pick our canon that you threw away, and then you put it in this new canon and you manipulate it with today's society, you're doing us a disservice.
Yeah, you need an intelligent writer who understands Thrawn and can write him as an intelligent character, but they didn't have that.
You need Timothy Zahn.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. And then and I hate saying this because if we don't support the Star Wars brand, we may not get more Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've always
22.
said they only care if you put butts in seats. Right.
Yes.
So when you go to the movies, this is how you show your appreciation. But at the same time, if they keep giving you bad writing and bad storylines and girl power before story, diversity before story, people stop watching. People start turning out. They start tuning out. Then it goes like the word on the net is that they're rethinking their line of what they're doing. They're rethinking. They're pulling back to drop this bombshell, and it's just rumor. I can't verify any of this, but they're talking about maybe moving forward with recasting Han, Luke, and Leia to kind of go in for the Thrawn thing. Okay, they're not talking about redoing Star Wars Episode 4, 5, and 6. They're talking about taking them from this Mandalorian universe up until, I guess, episode what 9? Yeah, episode 7. Was that 30 years, I guess, or whatever? So, again, I've said this. You could do that. You're not messing with the original trilogy, but these actors now have to mimic these characters. If they don't act like the Harrison Ford from Return of the Jedi, nobody's going to watch. It's going to be a disaster. It's just going to be a disaster. We're going to see that first episode. The internet trolls are going to go crazy. Fans like us are going to go crazy. One or two of us might stick around to the end of it. You know what I mean? But overall, come on, man. Look what they're doing to us.
Well, it definitely does sound like to me that it's going to drive me to drinking, and I want a big glass of Romulan Ale. Y'all get that? Y'all get that reference, don't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I was wondering we're a Star Wars.
I think we're all gonna have to be tanked, bro.
we're a Star Wars show, and when I threw in a Star Trek reference, come on now. Anyways, let's move on. All right, guys.
Milk.
Right. So some excitement, shall we? Everybody has said that the prequels have given us a lot more lightsaber showmanship. Got some really good stuff. That's probably one of the best things I like about the prequels. As being in the martial arts for over 20-some years, it's not common for me to sit down and watch a movie and I could turn around and watch, oh, that's a back fist. That's a side kick. That's a Yoko Gary. That's this. That's that. And it's like, you know the whole routine of what they're doing by name. So most of you have been in the learning sabers and stuff for a while now. I'm sure that you've read the descriptions of all the 7 forms and everything. Can you watch any Star Wars movie and say, okay, he's using Form 1. Oh, there's Form 2. Wait a minute. He's Form 7. Have you gotten to that point yet in your Star Wars life? I know I have, for my own personal reasons, because I noticed it tonight when I was watching Attack of the Clones. So anybody want to share their enlightenment on their and let's say it's some sort of training, shall we? So if you just started learning saber stuff and all of a sudden you're watching a movie, you're like, oh wow, I did that in class. That's cool. Calibus, let's start with you because I knew you went to class today, dude. So go ahead.
I went to class today, and I noticed that. I tend to do that. I tend to even in the video games when I'm watching, their strikes and stuff. You know what I mean? So I do, and then there's sometimes again. When you see the when they're fighting Dooku, you're just you can get so enthralled with the dance of back and forth, and you know what I mean, and it kind of puts you in that mesmerized state, which is great. And then you may pop out of it and you see something, you go, I saw that in class. I saw it. So and so did that in class. I saw it. Or, I got hit with that move in class. Yeah. As I watched that today, I noticed some stuff, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that was pretty cool." But for the most part, like you said, you see it because now you're doing it. You're learning that stance. You're learning that block, that turn. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when you see it on film, you kind of get excited, and it kind of like pushes you to like, "Ooh, I can't wait till I can get to this form so I can do that." You know what I mean?
Yep, that's the itch I was trying to see out of you, Miss Katala. I know that you've done some saber work too, and some other, weaponry and everything. How about yourself? Have you noticed any of that type of stuff, even with the mixture of weapons that you have come across?
probably more so with Ashoka, Balin. His style of fighting is a little more familiar. The lightsaber stuff I am relearning because I have to not use my heavy weapon tactics. So I'm trying to go back to some of the fencing that I used to do and learn it that way.
Okay, that's good. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. As an instructor, it tickles me pink when I see a student turn around and say, Sensei, that works. That really works." And it's an uplifting experience because you pass something down to someone, and you don't know how many times I did it with my instructor because he would show me something very small, and all of a sudden I'd start to do it, and then it was like opening up a brand new world. That's the best description I can explain. Rob, how about you, sir? Have you noticed this type of say training or seen this?
The more that I notice is more of the stuff they shouldn't be doing, the flares and all the other stuff, the stuff that would actually get you hurt in a real fight. That's
Okay.
what I pick out more than the actual real stuff.
Okay, I can go along with that. I think I was explaining that to Mark and two other people in class today. Don't worry about the flashiness of contacting the saber. Make that initial tap to that saber and get that point. That's what we're here for. If you do better and got someone skilled, all that's going to come together. So, exactly right. Matter of fact, it was Mark and his group that I was working with that said the same thing. Speaking of Mark, you've been with me for like 2 or 3 weeks now, and I'm sure with your experience watching it and involved, tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, I would say, I guess originally I just thought it was cool watching everybody with the lightsabers. I do notice a little bit more like, oh, that's what they're doing, especially in this movie, when you watch the younglings practicing with the two hands, going back and forth with the droid to watch, to block the shot. So that's something I definitely have noticed now. Yeah, I know everybody wants to do the flashy stuff, which I know will come in time. I just got to work at it, and then probably would see the different forms. Right now, I've only tried to notice Form 1, so that's what I've been trying to see what everybody's using that with. So that's where I'm at it, with my own self.
Okay. Hey, there ain't not a thing you said wrong in that whole statement. Sai, how about you, sir?
All right. I haven't noticed the styles of the lightsaber, but what I have noticed are the tactics that they use with the vehicles. Like for example, when you in Empire Strikes Back and you see the AT-ATs, they're not in single file when they start to approach the rebel base. They spread out in different lines, and then you see the AT-STs going around the AT-ATs, giving coverage against smaller emplacements, vehicles, and then you have snow troopers protecting those guys from anti-armor troops, just like in real life. I think that's fantastic. And one thing that bugs me is that you never see any of the troopers take cover. They're just standing out in open. And that's one of the first things you do. You always take cover. It wasn't until like later on in the Clone Wars, the animated series, that you see clone troopers start to use shields as portable cover. That was great. I thought finally that makes sense. They're not standing out in open. And then you see that the ship to ship combat, where you have these big carrier style battleships that are going to be in the center formations, and then you're going to have the smaller cruisers or medium cruisers because they have smaller cannons which are better able to trace and attack fighters than the big guys. And then you have fighter squadrons that are doing intercept. Just like when we play squadrons, we have the big ships in the back, but then we have the two smaller cruisers that are placed ahead to intercept whatever fighters are coming for the home base. When you start to see that, that's great. I also used to be able to identify every single blaster in Star Wars when I was younger, and start to see tactics, which is why I know when you saw that guy do the whole twirl thing in Boba Fett, that really kind of pissed me off. You know, he does a little twirl shot. Like, you don't, what, why?
You talking about in the book of Boba Fett, the
Yes,
Power Ranger?
yes. It's like what's that movie where the guy bends his bullets? Is that what's the guy this bending his blaster through the
Oh,
air?
Wanted.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good movie though.
That is.
Yeah, they're right. Right.
Yeah, because you can just whip your arm around and the bullet's gonna curve around stuff.
At least that movie tried to make it make sense. Instead of the Book of Boba Fett. Oh God.
Well, with that being said, guys, if you haven't been on the Fraternal Order of the Force lately, Miss Katala has been posting some really good descriptions of the seven forms and in very, very good detail. So if you haven't checked that out, I would advise doing so because it's very interesting. I've seen all sorts of videos on the seven forums. I've even got the Jedi versus the Sith book. So let me tell you something. She has found some very good write-ups. So if you haven't seen it, I suggest you look it up. Yep, and that's one of the videos I've seen right there. But what she posted was really, really interesting. So if you haven't checked it out, I would advise reading it. You won't go wrong, especially you guys that are into strategy, heavy lore, that sort of thing. You're welcome. Thank you, Calibus, for itemizing that for us. So everybody had to have a favorite part, and everybody had to have a what the heck part. So with that being said, I'd like to know, one, your favorite part of Attack of the Clones, and then I'd like for you to tell me what was the sucky part for you. Sai, since you got our attention a few minutes ago, let's take it out.
My favorite part is the Battle of Geonosis. I absolutely love that part. The suckiest part is I don't know, that's kind of hard. That's really hard. I mean, I either loved certain parts or I was kind of just like mid through the rest of it. Although I did think that the assassination attempt on Padme was a little weird. Like, if you could get to the window, why not just use poison gas instead of having to use, poisonous insects? I think that kind of like, I was like, eh. And in my fandom mind, I tried to, well, maybe she couldn't smuggle in poison gas through the customs, but organic life form wouldn't trigger off any of the scanners at the customs, so that's what she had to use. That's the only thing I can think of. I thought that was the suckiest part.
Okay. Mark, how about you, sir?
My favorite part would be watching Yoda battle Count Dooku. I absolutely love watching Yoda move because you always see him with the cane, and for him to drop the cane and whip out his lightsaber, that was the most exciting part of the movie for me. I'll sit down and I'll just watch that scene over and over again. The part that I did not like as much about the movie is I don't understand why Padme would fall in love with Anakin because nothing he did would seem like a love story. That was just, I think it was forced, but it was not a love story. So that's the one thing I did not like about the movie at all.
Okay. Rob, what you thinking on this topic?
My favorite part was all the scenes with Count Dooku. His part was the most thought out of the whole story. The other part was the shape-shifting bounty hunter. We needed to get more of a backstory on her, find out more about her. Nice little Easter egg for people that like Mando. Her rifle she uses is actually Mando's rifle without the tuning fork on the end.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
in one book, she actually had she was in love with Jango Fett, but he did not reciprocate, and so he was able to easily kill her because I think he knew what she really looked like, and he was like,
Well, let's think about that for a moment. So this is non-Star Wars, but you can imagine having a shapeshifter as a better half. I mean, so depending on what you like, if I wanted my wife, I could have my wife. If I wanted your wife, I could have your wife, and she could shift change. I mean, what the heck? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting hit over here. Anyways, non-Star Wars. Let's move on. Katala, your favorite, and then your worst part of the movie.
Oh my God. My favorite was Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan going through the force fields fighting. And worst part was probably Padme marrying Anakin. That made no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the other worst part was when Anakin went ahead and boasted that he killed them all, the men, the women, the children, the dogs. Everybody got killed. And she goes, okay.
All right. Calibus, your best and worst parts of Attack of the Clones.
Watching the Slave One fire off that seismic death charge. You know what I mean? That was like, oh man, that was tight. I have to agree with Katala. The worst part though for me was I killed them all. And I was like, okay, dude. And then she's patting him on the back. And I'm like, how is it when you met him, he was what? 7?
7.
And you were 13, 14? What?
I thought he was like 10 and she was like 15 or 16 or something.
I don't know. It just seemed a little bit weird that she would fall for him. You know what I mean? I just, and then of course, well, we'll get to that when we have to get to it. But you know what I mean? He just didn't seem, because when she first sees him, oh, Annie, you've grown all up. And I'm like, wow, you don't have men where you're from? I just don't. She's a senator. She was the queen of a planet. And she took this little boy. I mean,
that's George Lucas, like with Indiana Jones and Marion Ravenclaw. He was like a 29, 30-year-old man, and she was like a 14-year-old girl.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It just seems a little strange to me that, and then again, if you told me that you done killed a whole tribe of people, and then you emphasize not just the men, but the women and the children. Okay. I'm going to leave you here. I'll get on the next shuttle. Because there ain't no way. He's obviously a psychopath. I mean, I get it. You kill some people, but, to seek out everybody, and then Yoda felt the pain. But yet, here we go. This guy is still a Jedi. This is my problem with Anakin Skywalker, that everybody's chosen one. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Okay.
You get the awkward scene of him in the field riding the back of that creature, and he can barely stand on it, and he's a Jedi.
Yeah. Well, worst and favorites. I would say one of my favorites was when he was on Tatooine and kind of shows that Phantom Menace type thing where, you don't actually see him. You just see the shadow. And the shadow, because of his little pigtail back there, a little ponytail back there, kind of forms the shape of the Darth Vader helmet. That is probably one of my favorite parts. The part you just talked about, where here you saw your mom and you saved her, and then all of a sudden she dies in your arms, and then the transition from being a Jedi to almost pure Sith, is just shows how powerful he was, because we saw what the Sand People was, that how they kind of lived in the Mandalorian, or I'm sorry, the Book of Boba Fett, if I'm not mistaken. So, it was just pretty powerful for me. That is probably the worst, like y'all said, some of the crybaby stuff, and then the Moochie stuff. Are we going to be together or not? Are you going to play with my lightsaber? Yes, you're not. Give me a break. So, guys, before we close the council, please, your final exact words on Attack of the Clones. Would you see it again? Do you want to watch it again? Would you even dissect it again? Would you, what would you do again with Attack of the Clones in the future? Okay. Mark, we'll start with you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely watch it again. Like I said, it's got its moments. The action scenes are still fantastic. I thoroughly enjoy, like I said, seeing Yoda. All of the scenes with the Jedi Council. I'm still happy about some of that stuff. The major war scenes, even watching Anakin go through the production plant and seeing all the stuff he had to do, and then he loses his lightsaber in there. I find a lot of it enjoyable, and there are moments, like I said, that I just don't like. I don't think it was a good love story. I think it was forced. It wasn't like watching Empire Strikes Back when you felt like Leia and Han were falling in love. This one was just like, oh, he's the only guy around here, so now I love him. So that would have been my only issue with the whole movie. And some of the whining, like everybody said, but it's like we have all say, it is Star Wars. If we, gotta have some type of enjoyment out of it. So I find things that I do like, and that's what I tend to stick to.
Thank you, sir. That was very good. I like that last statement. Sai, your final thoughts?
I have to retract my first answer. My favorite part was actually Padme Amidala's black dominatrix outfit with the black choker in the one scene. So I'm sorry.
Okay, Sai. I'm gonna jump on that one with you. That scene I didn't really like too much, but I like the other scene.
Yes, but
the other scene where him and her had just got there, and she's wearing that rainbow type of looking dress.
That was a gorgeous dress.
Yes, I've actually seen that dress in a cosplay before, and that, depending on who's wearing it, that looks really good. So back to PG-13 again.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm sorry. I have to say, even though Revenge of the Jedi is actually a better done movie, I still enjoy Attack of the Clones more, so I would always rewatch it.
Okay. Rob, what you have for us, sir?
Attack of the Clones is my least favorite of the George movies. But I definitely would watch it 100 times over watching any of the Disney movies.
Yes. Miss Katala, your final thoughts on Attack of the Clones?
I can watch it, but it's got its painful moments. It took me 2 days to finish it because of all the whining. But the costumes are gorgeous, the scenery is excellent, and the saber fighting is top notch. So,
I don't know, boys. Her final statement on that sounded a little bit better than y'all's. Just y'all might got to work on that. All right, Calidus, what you got for me, sir?
Again, I put the blinders on, and I can go through it without a problem. There are moments in that movie, like Sai said, that Obi-Wan was always, Anakin, this is your life. You need your, and he breaks it. Like Obi-Wan's gonna kill me. I love those little scenes. That scene with C-3PO, I'm not in all that, but I liked it. I thought it was good. I still wouldn't call it a love story. But again, like Rob, I can watch that more than I can watch any 8 and 9. 7 too. Yeah, all three of them. I can watch that more than I can watch those 3.
Okay.
9 is still okay. I can deal with 9, but
9. The
yeah,
last
I
one.
like 9. I still like 9.
No,
I know everybody doesn't, but I like 9. 7 and 8. 7 I was hopeful for when it first came out, and parts of it okay. Then I got my my hopes dashed with certain scenes. So, but 9 gave me a little bit more parts that I enjoyed than the other 2. So
really, because somehow he has returned. I
I still like certain parts of the movie.
What have you done with the real Master Shadow? And who are you?
Yeah, right. He's a clone.
They killed Luke on the wall.
Okay, I give you this much. We got Babu Frick out of that movie, so I'm good.
I mean, you also got to see. Well, I was going to say, what's his name?
Lando?
Yes, Lando Calrissian come back. That was exciting for me.
Yeah.
So that was something I was thoroughly happy about.
So, okay. So, Calibus, I can't wait till we get to episode 9. Because, Mark, I too enjoyed episode 9. But we'll refrain from that until later on.
Okay.
Guys, I enjoyed Attack of the Clones. It's not The Empire Strikes Back, but it is part of the saga. You said it best. One of the best moments of that movie was seeing Yoda in action. And I remember the theater going nuts when Yoda came out, because nobody had never seen him with the lightsaber in his hand, and he did a great job. Guys, I thank you so much for indulging us. Thank you guys watching out there in TV land. If I'm not mistaken, Taco Cat, I think I saw you chiming in from time to time. Thank you, sir, for your support. I will turn it back over to Master Rand himself and head of the Cosmic Portal. Thank you, sir, for this assignment.
Well, guys, we're going to power through this to the first of the year, I guess. I just found out some shocking information. Master Aki and Master Shadow are in league. I believe they're Sith Lords.
Wow.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I can't wait to get to 9 now, just to get you.
Who has Revenge of the Sith? Who's got Revenge of the Sith? Who's doing Revenge of the Sith?
Idea.
Jen has got Revenge of the Sith.
So when Jen comes back December 2nd, we will be back, right?
Yes.
December 2nd, we'll be back.
Because I got you gave me The Empire Strikes Back when we get to it.
And that weekend is Thanksgiving weekend, so we're kind of taking that weekend off, and then we'll come back December 2nd to hit it. Revenge of the Sith, and then of course
I'm doing Rogue One.
I'm doing Solo.
Yeah,
I got Solo,
and then I got New Hope. After Solo, I'll do New Hope.
Rob, you can take one if you like.
Yeah, we can't do all the work.
But I want to thank all of you guys for coming together. Now, the Fraternal Order of the Force is always looking for new members. Master Aki is the head of our order. He also does, for those of you that are still watching, also does lightsaber training. So if you are on the south side, or well, I wouldn't say south side. If you're over the water, you take the bridge, and you want to learn some Jedi maneuvers, you want to hold that lightsaber high and really get something out of it, that's where you need to go. That's where you need to go. 757 Ronin Warriors is a great place for friendship, from camaraderie, and that Star Wars feel. If that's what you're looking for, that's where you need to go. So with that being said, guys, I will see you December 2nd as Jen takes on Revenge of the Sith, and I'll talk to all of you next time.
Happy Thanksgiving.